Hi, and welcome to the seventh community call from NeoNephos since we started in April. Today, I have some updates, some colleagues with us, let's get started. But first, we need to have a look through the antitrust policy notice from the Linux Foundation. If you have further questions, John is also here in the room to address questions and answers. And let's get started. So what do we want to show today? So basically, I would give a short update on where we are at with the foundation. And afterwards, we have the open resource discovery presentation, where we have Simon Heimler in the call. He gives a presentation what it is and where we stand. And then we will also have Mirza Korpik in the call, who is responsible for the platform mesh. And I think with that, we also have an interesting update, what we want to share. At the end, we can have an open discussion, prepare a slide where we could go through and had some ideas to open that up for nice discussion. And let's get started, I would say. All right. So what did we achieve? Right now, we just published our committee election in term periods. That's just FYI, but I think that gives transparency how these election processes work. For example, that the governing board representatives or the TAC, they are voted like every year in October. And I think what's also interesting is that depending on how many general members we have in the foundation, that with every fifth member, there's a voting for general member representative. So basically, every 1st of October, we will have that voting, and then that representative is voted into. What we also want to have is we will start next year a strategy workshop with the governing board. Tobias, could you mute yourself, please? Thanks. We would also come up with some ideas how to involve every general member more into the foundation and give their voice via the representatives into the foundation. Okay. So what did we now achieve? Like when we started the foundation, we started with 12 projects, 11 from SAP, 1 from Telecom, and we transferred that in the beginning of April. So that was a formal donation, but to really get that hand over, I think I already told that in the last community call, it takes some time, and it also takes a lot of effort looking from a legal perspective on it. What does it mean from a license perspective and all these kind of things. But happily, we finished now most of that. So 8 of these 11 projects from us, they are now handed over. 3 are currently open, but should also be transferred soon. I guess latest in the beginning of January, from my perspective. And with that, we also have like 3 projects currently in the pipeline. 2 of them are currently already ready with the onboarding with Linux Foundation. That's Open Keychain Manager and Open Crypto Broker. I think we should already have some information online, but they are just in the beginning of being published. And that's the same for Confidence. So we keep you posted, and we will also provide more information with blog posts and so on when it's ready, having them onboarded to NeoNephos. What's also needed is with every project being transferred to the foundation, we need to go to the TAC first. They need to present themselves, and then after decision based from the TAC and positive decision based from the TAC, they will being added to the foundation. And currently, we also received some projects which will also are going in that pipeline for new projects coming from other companies joining the foundation. And with that, we will also start with these discussions. And then after we have that final, I would also share the details in the next community call. One sentence to social media. As we are currently starting to engage with LinkedIn and YouTube, it would be nice to get your support by if you could like or sharing the post. If you want to get repost by us, we can also help with that. So just contact us and we are happy to work on that and to spread the information, which is really great having in the NeoNephos ecosystem. We are also publishing branding guidelines. So how can I use NeoNephos? We started with the logo designs, which is a start. Currently, we are also thinking about having a mascot, which is not like only a text-based logo, as I heard some criticism in the past that this NN isn't really creative. But we are working on that and started a conversation together with Linux Foundation how to shape that in a logo design, which we can use for branding our material. We will also provide template guidelines and starting presentation decks that everyone could use for their own presentations. And why do we do that? Because we also want to start with an ambassador program. We want to orient ourselves how CNCF is doing that. And we also have already some candidates which want to be an ambassador, going to conferences, wear our t-shirts, polos, and do some advertisements and share the story around NeoNephos. So if you have also ideas, if you want to be part of that ambassador program, you can also contact us. Ideally, we want to shape that together, having some ideas how that ambassador program could look like. What also makes sense is that we want to kick that off for the KubeCon, and we are currently organizing that. So basically, we are in preparation having a booth, a NeoNephos booth with representing presentations, and it would be nice if we find people also joining KubeCon and joining us at the booth as booth staff, or at least showing up and say hello, that we can meet up. So if you have other questions, you can also reach out to Chris. He's organizing that. And with that, I would like to hand over to Simon. Let me just unshare my presentation.
Okay, can you hear me then? Okay, so I can just share my presentation. Can you see it? I just took the logo from the place you advertised, Christian. So, okay, so then, yeah, thanks for having me. So, then let's quickly give you an overview on what the open resource discovery specification is about. So the subtitle already gives you a hint. So it's about how to build well-connected metadata catalogs that work across silos. So silos could be applications, it could be different technology stacks, different ecosystems. And how we do that is basically by first understanding what problem we are going to solve. And sorry, I need to move this. Okay. I'm not a Zoom person. Okay. So basically the problem we identified, which led to the creation of the standard a long time ago, actually 7, 8 years, is that we used to have the problem that every domain or protocol or tech stack had its own metadata formats and its own catalogs, its own ways how to discover the metadata and how to publish it. And I can give you some examples. So for example, for APIs, it's usually Open API, and then you had some API catalogs where you could put your Open APIs files in, yeah. But then also we had OData. Where would you put that? And how would you load that into the same catalog? Then we got events and we got standardization around async API as a format for that. And we wanted to have one catalog which shows you all of that together in one place because our customers expected that this is not distributed in many places, but we have it in one place and we can consistently document that for them. Um, and that evolved actually. So over time, we also had the topic of data products and new protocols coming up like delta sharing. And we said, why should we have separate marketplaces, separate discovery mechanism for data products? We don't need that. We want to have that all together, right? And now with AI, we have this very actively again. So we have MCP, Model Context Protocol, and A2A, agent to agent, as protocols coming up. And each one has their own formats and ways to discover, or partially not even define that yet fully, how that works. And we said, okay, we can do that. We have one format. We have an idea how to do that more generically. Um, for us, it was also very important to connect all of those technical things to an enterprise architecture, to business terms, like what business objects are there, which processes are there, taxonomies, industry taxonomies that are there. And we wanted to have this consistent across all of those technologies. So how to solve that problem? Basically, by having a shared discovery protocol, which is generic and agnostic enough that it can handle all of those standards and not replacing them, right? So just handling them. And then we can put all of that into a shared metadata catalog or graph where we get the full picture again. And this talk is basically about the ORD as the shared discovery protocol. And it starts really by describing an application or service because almost everything I showed you before is actually resources or capabilities of applications and services. And if you really want to know how an application looks like, um, you best ask the application itself because it could be customized. It could have a life cycle and change over time, right? So if you really want to know what APIs an application right now has and how they look like, why not ask the application itself what it can offer to you? And that's exactly what the ORD protocol is doing. So it provides, it defines this interface here, the ORD provider API, where you can ask an application, what do you offer? What do you want to tell me about you? And in this, you can add basically all the things you've seen before. So like what APIs do you have, like OData, MCP, REST, A2A, delta sharing, what events are there, what data products do you have? And also the taxonomy that the application knows by itself. So some things like its own domain model, it could describe for you, but sometimes taxonomy is also assigned from the outside to it. Um, it's also possible to state your dependencies to other applications resources. So we can really connect this into a graph where you understand the landscape that you have and how it can be integrated. Mm. So if we now zoom out a little bit, we usually have several applications or services that we need to understand. And if they all implement the same protocol, we can basically have a central component, a metadata aggregator, which could now collect this metadata from all of your applications. So this could be either your whole product portfolio that you want to describe to your customers, maybe statically. Many API catalogs work like that. But it could also be your actual system landscape. So you want to understand what you really have running. So you bought systems, you provisioned them. What do you have in the end and how are they configured? So you could use the same interface to either introspect your actual state or to just publish your offering externally because you want your customers and partners to know about it. So this is the task of the metadata aggregator. From there, it can make it available in a UI. It can make it available through an API. And the consumers that are interested in the metadata have now a central place where they can find everything together. So one catalog, one connected graph where you can discover everything together. So if you're from the infrastructure space, it's like in Kubernetes control plane, you get an overview of all the compute resources you have there, right? This is on the layer of what applications are running on that compute and what offer they as integration interfaces, as APIs. Because OOD is decentralized, you could also directly peer-to-peer ask an application. But I think in most cases, if you want to scale it, it makes sense to have a central aggregator here. Yeah, so this is the page of the OOD spec. I linked it in the chat already. And I would now go into a flow how this really looks like practically. So you get a feeling of what data is exchanged. The second link I shared is a reference app. It's very simple. It's just an application that has a few APIs and events, and you want to learn about the metadata. So first you need to know the application, right? So you have the URL to the backend, to the application. And from there, you can attach a well-known URI. That's a typical pattern. So a well-defined URL appendix you add. And if this returns true, basically the OOD protocol is supported. Like OIDC, it works the same way here. Then it will tell you that there are OOD documents, which are basically links again, and it tells you how to access them. So, for example, here we see there are two documents, and one describes the application at a certain version, and one describes how it actually looks like for a tenant. So this one is open, so we can now go into the document without access. You could also have protected it. And here you can see that Open Resource Discovery in version 1.12 is supported, that we follow certain policy levels. Here they are SAP policy levels, but it could be any policies you set up for your company. And then you see we are describing a product and the API resources. For example, here you see there is the astronomy API. You get some very basic high-level information like a short description, a long description, which version is it public or internal? And then that it's on REST API, that it's actively released, and it's described using OpenAPI version 3, and here's the link again. So you see it's again a link, it's again an access strategy, it's open. So we can now crawl the entire metadata. And it's important, so OD really doesn't describe the API in any detail. It's just high-level things like lifecycle and versioning and what you need to build a catalog UI. If you want to find out more, you navigate to the OpenAPI and then you find the OpenAPI definition for it, which is basically how we reuse a lot of the industry standards. So they're basically discovered through ORD. So we use ORD as a wrapper and as a discovery vehicle to find the actual metadata and connect it. Okay, so the takeaways are basically, so if you want to build a unified and well-connected catalog for everything that is integration related, APIs, events, data products, and the various AI protocols that are out there, this protocol is built for that. It's not just solving the problem for one technology, but we tried to solve it generically for all of those. together. That makes also adopting new technologies then easier. Through the protocol, we can fully automate the discovery. That makes it real time, and that also reduces the problem that sometimes your definitions are not in sync with reality. When I was on conferences, many said this is a big problem for them. So you can automate this problem away if you make discovery an API and do it at real time. And with that, you can also introspect your real system landscape. So you can ask real running systems how they look like. And you don't have just static documentation that might be updated or not. And yeah, like I said, so it's extensible. We don't replace existing industry standards. So it's really, we want to use standards like OpenAPI, Async API, MCP. We just help you to discover them, put them into context. And because we do that, because we have that shared protocol, we can also share the discovery principle and the entire metadata integration infrastructure. So if you have the aggregator speaking the protocol, you can use it for all those content types. You can do the governance of those things in a central place. You can do the validation in a central place. And you don't need to rebuild this for each new technology and standard that comes up. Yeah, so I would say, and that's it from my side. I would leave some time for questions. Or are there questions? Thank you.
Simon, if I'm not wrong, you also received some awards for this as well, didn't you?
Yes, yeah. So I think this is all due to making this open source and donating it to NeoNephos. So we received an API award for best specification and standard this year. And we could also go to San Francisco and present it there on that occasion. So that was very nice.
Congratulations. Well done.
Thank you.
Just posted the blog post about it. Yeah. Thanks
Okay.
for
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Yeah.
Hey, Simon, this is Vasu. In your presentation, you had well-known without a dot. Was that a mistake typo, or is it all of a sudden without dot well-known?
No. It's with dot. It was either a typo. I couldn't see it because Zoom was blocking it. So it's definitely with dot. It's
Okay.
the RFC
Yeah,
standard, right? Yeah. We are officially
Yes.
registered at Oasis. Yeah.
Okay. Good. I was just wondering. All right.
I'll have a look later. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. Missa, should I just share my screen and you present from there, or how should we do it?
You can share your screen now. I've made the...
Okay, perfect. Yeah. All right. Thanks.
Yeah, so thanks very much. So just a very short update from our side. It's been a long year, taken quite some time to get here, but what we have done with the great support from our architect Bastian and his team, we've managed to release a getting started guide. So I don't know if you can click on that. But what we have in there is actually an instance of the platform mesh that shows you how you can run it locally inside Docker. And it also allows you then to see all of the different components that are necessary to run inside for the platform mesh. They're really abstracted in the background behind you, but if you wanted to dig down, you can see that. But more importantly, what we also wanted to highlight is there is an actual example. It's a very simplified example, but the whole point of that example is that it shows you what is possible. We've always had this question about where do I find it? How do I start it? How do I get into it? And hopefully with this example, you can then sort of see through an actual walkthrough or of step-by-step guide that explains what you can do when you onboard an organization. What happens then also when you have a service that is then offered in the marketplace, when an account is created. how is that service then exposed? How can you consume that service? And essentially, all of that is then available there. That then makes this for you to understand, first of all. Secondly, also, you can run it locally without having any other dependency. It's self-contained. It is still work early in development, but as a matter of fact, we are then also planning on a regular cadence to have a release cycle to update this as well. And very lastly, I just want to mention also a big thanks to the whole team. We've been working very hard on releasing the very first initial release. And that release also references and uses, also in the local setup itself, OCM components in there too. And then you can see how those then are then being used and applied by the actual necessary resources inside the kind cluster as well. So there is other projects in there that are running like OCM with its dependencies that are defined in there. Additionally, we do have in the next steps in the actual getting started guide, there are also an example of the other tools that are defined in there, like KCP. You have an admin access to that. There's also OpenFGA. You have access to this as well, and a Keycloak instance that is also available in there. That's pretty much it that we have from our side.
Yeah, thank you very much for your update. I also posted the URLs in the chat that you can see that. I think everything else can also be shown on the Platform Mesh GitHub organization or also on the website. Let me just put it there in the chat. But yeah, great news. I think a lot of people were asking about Platform Mesh in the past community calls and town hall meetings. So this is really a great achievement, and I think one step ahead of the question, when do we get GA? Okay, not with 0.1, but I think small steps also is something. And yeah, thank you.
Exactly. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. I mean, the reason for this is exactly
small
that we've
comment
had a
from-
lot of we've had a lot of presentations this year, and the question was always this: when can we try it out myself? And that's what we try to work on to make it possible, so that you now have a way to get through it and to understand it. Go ahead, Vasu.
Absolutely. Yeah, just a comment from my side. I think this release, you are underselling it, Metza, for the kudos to the team, because this guide actually guides you through a bundled installation. It includes many components, like 30 components. I think the last link shows you that. It's got open component model in it. It's the MFP, the micro front end. It's got KCP integrated. It's got an etcd Druid automation operator in it. It's got did I mention KCP? I did probably. And it's got Keycloak. Like they're like 20, 30 components all bundled together to make platform on your local laptop. And I love it. It's a fantastic step forward. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Misa. All right, with that, I think we're already at the end of our presentations, and I would like to open the room for discussion. So we presented that also on our town hall meeting, and general, as we are just at the beginning of the foundation and a very young foundation with NeoNephos, we would like to understand what you guys would like to see. Is there anything missing, or how should we develop the foundation in the future? As we are currently preparing the roadmap and having that strategy meeting in January, we would like to get your feedback in order to get also the vote and the saying from the community that you're also feeling heard. So with that, I would like to open the mics. If you have ideas or just want to give feedback, now's the time. Thanks. You also don't need to be shy. Miguel is thinking.
No, just I'm thinking other questions on the slides or something answered somewhere. It's just a discussion kickers.
Well, let's see if this makes sense. Regarding the first talk, which was very interesting, I think the focus of the project is on applications and their APIs. I was wondering, is this somehow also applicable maybe at lower levels of infrastructure where you also have resources that need to be discovered? You have existing tooling for that, but it is typically very specific. I wonder if you have ever thought about that, and maybe there are actually some efforts already in that direction. Just wondering. So lower levels, I mean, discovery of equipment, for example, in data centers on networks, or maybe in a virtualized environment, but not applications, just lower level things.
And maybe I can jump in. Mariel, you're asking a very pointed question. So typically, when it comes to very low-level devices, let's say a server with a BMC, or if you look at the Kubernetes infrastructure as such, we always find specific discovery protocols. And some of them are optimized for the specific domain. And we haven't, in order to get ORD integrated into a BMC, we would have to talk with the, let's say, Open BIOS firmware colleagues. And that's a different community. If you look at Kubernetes, they, for example, offer you an API resource discovery endpoint on their own. So the natural fit for ORD, and Simon, you might, or is he still there? He already jumped out probably. He would basically probably also in this discussion which we had would probably tell you, yeah, it is probably easier to address ORD in an application stack at a higher level, where people are more, let's say, affine to open API, JSON constructs, and so on. The discussion is similar to what you find from semantic web area, right? And the differentiation, you can read it also in a blog, was more or less that ORD was made more practical, like industry practical. Semantic web comes with a lot of additional tooling and ambiguities and so on. So to answer your question in a nutshell, more or less, I think we have to work our way down, right, from an application. That's more or less the idea. But we, once we have ORD or other types of similar discovery protocols established in a layer, you can go up and you can go down. But we don't have anything like this industry-wide, I think. That's kind of, in a nutshell, the idea.
Yeah, makes sense. Thanks for discussing that. It is what I expected. And yeah, there are existing discovery protocols, of course, in the lower level, and they have been around for a long time. But
correct. At least we can say one thing: with ORD, the complete SAP ecosystem will be attachable, and that's, I think this is one thing where we're trying to use open source to get a foothold in an ecosystem, and that's, I think, one of the ideas behind it. We're putting our weight behind it in an open manner, not with a hindsight of trapping someone or something like that. Yeah.
I had another question, maybe suggestion. I was trying to find the dates when these technical advisory committee meetings are scheduled. I noticed they are not on the calendar. Maybe that is on purpose. Maybe it could be added.
They are not public, so that's why.
No, I realize that. Maybe not public, but it might be relevant for some public members to
So-
know about it if they want to
Yes.
provide input.
So the dates are fixed until the end of the year, so we know when they are, so we can publish them. Yeah, we can do that.
End of this year or end of next year?
End of next year. So we have the meeting set
Okay.
until December 26th.
We already spoke about that in private, of course. I just noticed.
They are not publicly available. That's right. Yeah, but we can put them on a page. Yeah.
MJ, I think you also were trying to ask a question and
No, I just was wondering, reading the questions on a slide, and was wondering, like, is the goal of NeoNephos to be attached to Linux Foundation and KubeCon and all the conferences related to that, or, for example, NeoNephos has specific conferences, or we want to have in long run our own dedicated conference in Europe? Do we have any plans on that? Like, what's the longer term vision?
Yeah, I mean, that's also a general question, what we want to achieve with our strategy meeting now having in January. I mean, having our own conference would be nice, but I think getting started for now and transporting that message, what it does, what we want to develop, what we develop, I think that's also fine going on conferences. And I think KubeCon or other conferences are the best place for that right now. But I mean, we are also open and discussing that. How can we also engage with something on our own? But I think for that, we need first a critical mass, which we need to reach.
MJ, that is correct. What Christian just said, we want to attach to the Kubernetes or cloud native ecosystem. So Open Source Summit, KubeCon, there's plans to be present there.
Yeah.
Some of the projects, by the way, have their own conferences or hacker weeks and so on, like the Gartner, Iron Core, and so on. For platform mesh, this might be an option if for the tight-knit community. And once there's a critical mass, must not be like hundreds, like maybe like 50 to 100 people. Once that is available, we will definitely also do our own conference for NeoNephos to give a room for all the different projects in there. But it shouldn't be only SAP. That's the important thing. So therefore, looking a little bit at Machil, we want to see TNO open source projects joining, and we're also looking for Stackit projects and so on. That's what we're looking for. Otherwise, we could just have a German user group of SAP conference. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, doesn't make sense. But I mean, we are really happy to open up for ideas like having hackathons for different projects. Definitely makes sense and brings up ideas. I think just 2 weeks ago we had like that Gartner hackathon. I mean, that's also what we want to invest with the foundation, that we give the projects a place to be, to grow the community, to come together and develop an idea into something real.
Makes sense. Like, I think it's right on point that we need a critical mass, and this is why, like, for example, platform mesh, Mirza's presentations, like, I think very much what we need in other projects too. I mean, a quick start guide, so anybody with 5 button clicks can try things and test it around, because what you're fighting these days is people attention and attention span, and the shorter the attention span to test something, the bigger chance it will get adopted. And
That's exactly why I included images, so you see exactly what you're supposed to walkthrough, and hopefully that way it guides them rather than a wall of text.
Yeah, and I think this is one of those like a foundation level guidelines. Like the things should be easy to adopt, easy to use, and integratable. So it's in a way how CNCF landscape implies what talks with whom in what protocols. Because if it's not about tech, it's more about like attention span. So, but yeah, everything with time.
Okay, I also see David in the room and Saro. Maybe if you want, you can also introduce yourself or say something if you like.
Yeah, I can maybe give some introduction to what we're doing. I'm David from the Arena 2036. We're actually working. Where to start? We're an association for the automotive industry, and we're trying to bring companies together to develop stuff. Not mainly only software, but also hardware, software, everything around automotive. And actually, we're in the Construct X project, what is part of IPSIDE SYS, and that's the way, or that's how we found our way to also to Gardner, and we are looking at Iron Core and things. You may have seen, I think Vasu had some contact with Johannes, but Johannes is on the train. That's why he said, "Hey, David, you can do this." And that's why I'm here. It's really interesting what you're doing, and I'm still thinking, what can we do for you? And it's difficult. I mean, the arena is, I don't know if you know, we're helping especially at the moment Tractors X, which is on Eclipse Foundation. And we're starting from time to time new projects that are mainly open source. And yeah, for us, it's just interesting. What are you doing here? And does it make sense for us if we have a new project? We could put it either, go with Eclipse, or maybe it's clever to go with NeoNephos. I don't know. That's something we're trying to find out here. That's mainly the reason why I'm here. But maybe if you're at a certain point are planning some events, we can also help you. We have really a great event location. So I hope it was somehow gave you some insights. What are we doing?
Working week
Yeah, thank you very much.
Arena 2036, definitely. Yeah, I think to answer your my quick knee-jerk reaction is if it's cloud native and helps with interoperability, it belongs in NeoNephos. If it's Java-based something, then Eclipse is fine.
Okay, that's fine. Then let's see what's next to come. But I can't tell at the moment because we have several projects, publicly funded. You never know what comes and what not. But we're having it definitely in mind, and we're at the moment trying things out, and maybe we find our place in here. Let's see.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, if you want, you can also connect with me. We can have a one-on-one discussing that.
Yeah, then I would also take Johannes in maybe next week or after Christmas. It's not so much time anymore, but I'm already preparing some mail in the meantime to Johannes too. Then yeah, let's have a connect.
Great. Thank you. All right, we also have Saro. I don't know if you want to say something about you. Don't need to, but interesting who joins the community call and get your angle.
Okay, hi. Hello, everyone. Yeah, so I'm from Bangalore, India. So I came to know about this foundation from an open source event last month here in Bangalore, where the SAP had organized a kind of open booth. So then today, Vasu had pinged me about this, and he explained about the activity. I'm basically from a telco company called Jio here in India. So I take care of a few platforms here, and so I was keen to know how what activities are going on and see how we can collaborate or work together. So I was a little interested to know. So that's where, yeah.
Yeah.
So looking forward to
introduction.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you can also have a look at the Catalyst project from the Telecom guys. All of the European telco providers are there, and maybe that's an interesting project for you. Yeah, thanks for joining, and yeah, let me know if you have questions, and we can definitely have a talk on that.
Sure.
Good to see people from other parts of not Europe but the world joining. And I think Saro, your Geo has more than 500 million subscribers, mobile phone subscribers. This is like more than Europe in total.
Yeah. We have some presence in Estonia, but yes, it's still in a very initial stage, but yeah. Good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have any open questions, feedback from the slide? If not, I would say thank you very much joining the 7th call. Have a great day. Have a wonderful Christmas time. I think that's the last one for this year. And we should already have the dates for next year. If not, we will also provide it. The same with the dates for the TAC, that it should be visible. Yeah. Thanks. Have a good one. Bye.